Daily Life Conversations of a Multilingue Part 2. Uh, those of us who are of Pakistani background but have lived abroad and so are native English speakers, you will see our conversations when we speak with each other is unique. You would notice that we all tend to join and coin words in exactly the same way. It's as if our minds think the same way. You will hear all of us, for example, say, you need to shut up and sonify me right now. Yeah, which means you need to listen to me right now. So I sonad him pretty good, you know. Sunana means to tell somebody off. So when you say that in Urdu it is मैंने उसको अच्छी तरह सुनाया, you know, I told him off real good. But when we say it in English, we tend to, when we speak with each other, we're like, I sonad him pretty good, you know. And then we tend to use the word fi at the end of many words like sunafai and um, you know, and there's another word that I thought that I had coined, but I noticed that other Urdu, uh, other Pakistani, British or Pakistani Americans tend they use the same terms or they coin the same words. And for example, when I would say that um, that is burdashtable, you know. I always used to say this word a lot. I recently I haven't said it much, but I would always say, but forget that. That's burdashtable, you know. So that means that's tolerable. So burdasht is to tolerate, and able as from tolerable. So burdashtable. And this was a word that became very popular amongst my friends when I used it. And then I found out that other people like me from similar backgrounds to me, they kind of coined similar words and terms. And then so we would say sunafai and sunad and you know and we would say bardashtable, and we would say words like uh, yeah this is, you would notice that we would tend to use Urdu and English mixed in one sentence. So we would start by saying, for example, you know what, I really think that our parents don't get us. Hannah, they don't really get us, do they? No, nay, they really don't get us. You know, one would think that we're actually speaking in a unique language. I mean, after all, at the end of the day, considering how they're the ones who've given birth to us, they ought to have been able to understand us, right? No, but it's so difficult to even, you know, bardashtify them at this point, because all you ever end up is just getting sunafied by them, and you know, and they just suna you, and then they just flip everything off, and then they just go away, and you are left like, you know, puckified and huckified, and you don't even know what to do. So that is one example of how we speak. And if it's you and your sibling who share three languages, then we tend to have an amalgamation of all three. For example, at one point, my sister and I, we would begin with, okay, so why don't you just tell me what happened? And I would say, yeah, well, you know, mais c'est pas important. Au moment, ça sera difficile to tell you. So, you know, and then she was like, vraiment, mais pourquoi? Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un chez toi ou tu n'es pas seul, toi? And I would say, aho. What would be the Punjabi answer for, you know, yeah. So so we're speaking in French because we have got people on this end of the on my end, and we're on the phone, and so she's like, okay, she's now responding in French, obviously, and then she would turn it to Urdu and English. Not Urdu, actually. We've never spoken in Urdu. We've always had uh, the unified words, but we've never spoken in Urdu with each other, and so in English or French. So, and then, you know, she would say that, okay, why don't you just, you know, just can't you like move, can't you go somewhere else, or maybe you could move somewhere so that we can talk, because I really need to talk to you right now. And I was like, okay, yeah, fine, just give me a sec, you know, and then I would go to the other room maybe, and then we would begin full on in English. So there is that. So that's another example of how we amalgamify our languages. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Whenever our relatives, my dad's relatives or my mom's relatives who are British, whenever we get together, then we speak in that unique tongue where we have these unified words. While speaking in English, we would add in a few Punjabi, a few Urdu words coined, and conjoined with English, with their English partners. So yeah, it's actually pretty fun. It's pretty fun. But when it comes to my thoughts, then I have to put brakes on my thoughts every now and then. Or sometimes when I'm trying to tell something to my mom, and then I have to control myself because suddenly a Korean word or a Japanese word or a Thai word would come, and I would be like, oh no, look for the Punjabi version of it. Just look for the Punjabi variant of this. Like for example, I was for some odd reason, when I was telling my mom that we have this thing in common, this whole belt from Pakistan all the way up to Vietnam and all Japan and stuff. That we always have a sort of a we have honorifics. We have honorifics, and then we have casual language. So there's the difference between formal and informal, and also how we always call other people by their general status or position in life. So for example, an older man or woman would always be an aunt or an uncle or a mother or a father, and uh, older people who are just older than us in years but they're still young, they would be brothers and sisters, older brothers and older sisters. But okay, unlike them in Pakistan, we don't have a word for at least we don't call younger brothers and younger sisters with titles. We just call them by their name actually. So this is one thing that's different, that in Thailand and in Japan, Korea and stuff, you will hear that even for those younger than them, they have a word. For example, you have Dungsing in Korea, and you will have, um, I think it's Nong, right? Nong in Thai, isn't it? So, I mean, you have that P and Nong, and, Nuna Dungsing, and Hyung Dungsing, and Uppa Dungsing. So, there is that. And Uni. So, for them, Dungsing in Korea, Dungsing is the generalized word for everybody young, regardless of their gender, isn't it? If I remember right. And so in Urdu, Punjabi, we don't really have a word I mean, not a formal word to address somebody younger than us, but we have formal addresses for those older than us. So it will always be, for example, Baji, Appa, Api for females, which is the equivalent of Nuna or Unni, right? And then we will have Pai, which is the equivalent of P in Thai, or the equivalent of Hyung or Uppa in Korean. And then we have um, uncle and aunt, which nowadays there's this trend where everybody wants to call every girl an aunt. Seriously, even if she's 20 years old, you'll find somebody, a shopkeeper, calling her auntie, and you're like, what the f? But but it is there. So, but if you look at our completely traditional addressing mode, and that is that an older man would always address a younger girl, a very much younger girl, young enough to be his granddaughter, you can say, or young enough to be his youngest daughter. You would find him addressing her as Guriya, which literally means doll. So, and we say bache. Yeah, we tend to say bache or bete for somebody younger than us, but they're more in the sense of child or son. But other than that, then if it's a younger girl, a girl who's much younger than the woman or man addressing them. And if you go into the remote areas, into the villages and all, then they still use the traditional addressing of Guriya. And they would call a younger boy Bete, son, automatically. And they would call any older woman Khalaji or Masi or Maji, so which means auntie or mother. And these are respect, these are addresses of respect that you give. And then to an older man, you would call him chachaji, which literally means uncle. It's a word we use for our younger paternal uncles. So it's like that. And but yeah, when I was trying to tell my mom that that they because actually we don't address older people as grandparents, although this is something that is used in Korea frequently. So for some odd reason I forgot the Urdu or Punjabi word for grandparents, which is actually nana nani and dada dadi. Imagine that, I actually remember it now, but that time when I was trying to tell my mom, but I the Korean version was hitting me so hard that I ended up saying harabaji and harmony. And I was like, oh my god, now how? But obviously she got it, because I was trying to tell her that they address buzurgs. We call them buzurgs in general, the elderly, which in Korean you will find them referring to them as orishin. So orishin is actually in our language buzurg, the elderly. So when we address the buzurgs, when we address the elderly, we don't call them grandmother or grandfather, unlike in Korea, or yeah, I think even in Japan. We address them mostly same as mother, maji, or khalaji, or which is auntie, or for males again chachaji. Yeah. So no matter how old they are, so that is, we don't start calling them grandparents on a whim. So yeah, there was that, and so yeah, like in Korea, Japan, and Thailand and all this whole belt, Vietnam, I think even Cambodia, Nepal, and all of us, we this whole belt, China, we have a certain formal way to address everybody based on the status of position. um, so for example, if I'm taking somebody's name, if I'm in a position where I have to take a stranger's name, a person who I'm not close to, then I would use the word sahab, which is very popular in the English language. So any English speaking, um, any native English speaker or from any English speaking country would know this, because it's been incorporated in the English language for so long. It is, I think you could say its Thai variant is Hun, or yeah, Hun, which you could refer to as Mr., I guess. But again, in English, there's no real address that could. In Urdu, you can find the exact translation for Hun, and that is Sahab, which means sir, you know. And in Urdu, the female and male, the gender difference comes. So if it is a male, it is Sahab, and if it's a female, it's Sahiba. So it's like how in Persia, in Iran, you have in Persian language, in Irani language, you have Sayyid and Sayyida. So Sayyid is Mr. male, and Sayyida is Miss or Mrs. Depending on, it doesn't matter. It's just Sayyida as long as she's female. So the same is for in Urdu. It is Sahab and Sahiba. So we also say Hazrat and Hazur, which is the Arabic variant. But as remember, in Urdu is a mixture of Turkish, Arabic, and Persian. So yeah, and Sanskrit, and the original Urdu form itself. So it's like five languages combined. So yeah, so in Urdu we would say Hazur or Hazrat, which means Mister, and it's a very very formal, respectful way, which we can also sometimes use in a semi-teasing way as well. When we're trying to be very um, friendly, but at the same time. So sometimes, and you will notice that the same thing happens in Thai language, and even in Korean and Japanese, where we sometimes use formal languages deliberately, just as a sort of a soft teasing, but it's a nice teasing. So you're actually keeping in terms with formality, but at the same time you're teasing that person. So it's a sort of a very sweet sense of humor here that we use. So it's Janab. Janab is another word which is a very, very formal word for saying Mr. or Sir in Urdu. But you will hear sometimes, you will hear some men, who are very close to each other, but are, speaking formally. And so you will see them sort of teasing each other and say, "Oh, Janab, kya misaj hai aapke aajkal?" So they're being exceedingly formal language wise, which literally would mean, and good sir, how is your temperament today? Or how would your temperament be today, good sir? Pray tell me. So it's that kind of humor that we bring in. So that is why I guess I enjoy these languages, and I think that those of us who speak multiple languages, those of us who are bilingual, most of us Asians and Africans who are bilingual, In fact, almost all of us, we're definitely bilingual. And then a vast majority of us become trilingual, so because we have English in the mix or Arabic in the mix, or, so some have French in the mix. So there is that. But that's the fun in it. That's the fun in it. If you will talk to a person who is from Balochistan, you will see him mixing Balochi words in Urdu. If you talk to a Kashmiri Punjabi, like for example, my maternal family, they're Kashmiris, but they migrated to Pakistan way back and when. And so, since you can say that Pakistan's existed, they have been living in Punjab, in Lahore, like a vast majority of Kashmiris that migrated. And now they have a special language, which you will notice that every single Kashmiri that you will talk to from Lahore or from Gujranwala, these two cities of Punjab, every single Kashmiri you will talk to, you will see they have the exact same language. I guess this is what I'm trying to say, that, it's like how those of us, native English speakers, who come from Britain or America or Africa, and when we tend to speak English, we coin the exact same words in the exact same way. It's like we have that same wavelength. You will find that in Kashmiris as well. So if you speak to any Kashmiri living in Lahore or Gujranwala, you will see that they all have the same vocabulary, the same words to use to express the exact same thing, and they would, for example, you would hear them use words like achvi. If you use achvi, every single Kashmiri in from anywhere throughout Punjab will recognize exactly what that word is, because that is essentially a Kashmiri word according to them. But it is also a word that is from South Punjab. So in South Punjab, the language that they speak, which is a very beautiful language, they too tend to use the word achwi. So they have that in common, like in Rahim Yar Khan and Dera Ismail Khan side. And in Urdu, you will hear the word chun. It's for the same thing, another thing, if you hear a Kashmiri speak Punjabi, they're Punjabi, you will have words like tarafni mati, tenu ki tarafni mati lagi hai, and you wouldn't hear a normal Punjabi say these words really. But so you tend to think that any Punjabi in Lahore will understand you. Most Punjabis in Lahore do understand you, because almost everybody is one way or the other related to Kashmiri in Lahore. So I guess they would understand you. But if you actually talk to a pure Punjabi and you would use the words like tenu ki tarafni mati lagi hai, tenu ki achhi lagi hai, they would be like, "What? Where are you from?" You know. So the tarafni mitti basically means mitti, the soil that we're made of, the earth, right? The clay. And tadafni is from tadap. In Urdu, it's tadap, and in Punjabi, it's tadaf, which is, to writhe. When you're writhing in agony. So you can imagine what it means. Tarafni mitti means is like you just don't have any, your bones are just not peaceful. As in, a person who can't sit still, a person who's just constantly agitated and, just moving about. And so when they get angry and they're like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you sit still? So they would say that, uh, what kind of soil are you made up of? In other words. So, yeah, "Tenki tarafni mitti lagi." So why won't you keep still? In Urdu, they would use chun to make it chun lagi hui hai. So chun is the same thing, achvi. They're all the same things, basically. They're all different words trying to describe the same thing. So yeah, you would hear us, when you hear somebody like us talking in English, and you would hear us bring out words like, you know, and I snuffied him a lot, and I snot him a lot, and oh, that's burdashtable, and that's okay, and that's doable. So this is us. This is us native English speakers who belong to Pakistani backgrounds. So this is it for now, unless I come up with some more. Enjoy your life. Enjoy learning new languages. Enjoy exploring cultures. Enjoy realizing how we're all the same despite our differences. Have fun and live a wonderful life. Stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. Bye bye. Khuda Hafiz. Au revoir. Ciao.